devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, and Srila Prabhupada. It will continue. Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita, additional pastimes. A few words from this authorized biography. And we're still in the chapter, A Visit to Boston. A few days later, a group of devotees came from New York, and Prabhupada initiated more brahmanas. One morning when he saw a group of new Brahmin initiates coming to join him on his walk, he said, "Oh, here come the brahmanas. But now don't be brahmanas in name only." One time Srila Prabhupada was asked, many times, and sometimes the responses were a little bit different. So he was asked, why does a spiritual master get sick? Spiritual master, intimate, saksad hari tvena samasta shastra. So the devotees are wondering, why does the spiritual master get sick? The Prabhupada said, because my second initiated disciples are not chanting their Gayatri mantra. So don't be a brahmana in name only. The bus was painted green, had a cracked windshield, no seats, and a dubious engine. It was unregistered and uninsured. Sounds just like an ISKCON vehicle, right? Hamsarūpa, who had received the bus as a donation, planned to use it for the world touring Sankirtan party Prabhupada had asked him to form. Before Srila Prabhupada and a gathering of devotees in Prabhupada's room, Hamsarūpa talked enthusiastically about the newly donated bus. Prabhupada asked to go for a ride. Rohini Kumar, who was from 2nd Avenue at the time and who was there, newly initiated Brahmin, later a sannyasi. This bus was so horrible, it was in terrible condition and rattling so much, it was on the verge of breaking down at any minute. The only seat on the bus was the driver's seat, so someone got a chair from the house for Swamiji to sit on. He sat in front like the captain of a ship. He was completely transcendental to the whole horrible situation, and I felt very bad. I thought, oh, Swamiji shouldn't have to ride in such a horrible bus. What began as a group of devotees taking their spiritual master on a short ride suddenly changed when, after going a block, Prabhupada began giving the driver directions. Go to the right, turn left, turn here, now go here. With the bus's engine coughing sporadically, the ride remained rough and rickety. Despite several men pulling their weight against the legs of the chair, but by following Prabhupada's direction, they soon arrived at the waterfront. Prabhupada said he wanted to go to Commonwealth Pier, the first place he had come in America when, in September of 1965, he had arrived from India aboard the Jaladuta. The boys marveled as Prabhupada continued to direct him to Commonwealth Pier. Prabhupada hasn't been here in years since he arrived. No GPS. Didn't stay in Boston for more than few hours just to go through customs. And here he's directing them to Commonwealth Pier. I first came here, Prabhupada said, as he walked along the pier with his disciples. But I don't know why I've come here. The language is different. The idea is different. They're all after sense gratification. I don't know why I've come here. And even if I'm not here, it will go. Srila Prabhupada ki. And it's going on. No fourth canto. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7, text 52 and 53. Still in the chapter titled, The Sacrifice Performed by Daksha. And it purports to both 52 and 53, so I don't know why. We selected both verses, but we'll chant. We'll read through the first and chant the second. I'll read through the first. Tasmin Brahmanit Vittiye Kevale Paramatmani Brahmarudro Chabhutani Vedenagyo Nupashyati. Translation. The Lord continued, one who is not in proper knowledge thinks that demigods like Brahma and Shiva are independent, or even thinks that the living entities are independent. Purport. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The living entities, including Brahma, are not independently separated, but are counted within the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, being the super soul in every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, is directing everyone in the activities of the material modes of nature. No one can act independently of the sanction of the Lord, and therefore indirectly, no one is different from the Supreme Person, certainly not Brahma and Rudra, who are incarnations of the material nature's modes of passion and ignorance. Text 53. Translation wasn't up to 52 or 53. Would you like me to read it again? Yeah. That was the first one, 52. We're going to do 53. Okay, we're going to chant together 53. Yata Puman Swangeshu. Yata Puman Sutvageshu. No, okay, 53. 53. What happened to 53? No, you got to go all the way up. You're back. This is the end of the chapter, 61. There's 53, yes. Okay, now go to the Sanskrit. Not the... Yeah, it's very good. Who's controlling today? Who's controlling? Aha. Okay. Yata Puman Swangeshu. Yata Puman Swangeshu. Shirakpanya Dishu Kuchit. Shirakpanya Dishu Kuchit. Parakya Buddhin Kurute. Parakya Buddhin Kurute. Evang Bhuteshu Matpara. Evang Bhuteshu Matpara. Please chant. Yata Pumana Sangeshu. I'm going to go to text 53. Tapuman swangeshu Chirakpanyadishu kuchit Evang bhuteshu matpara Arakya bhutim kurite Evang bhuteshu matpara. Just pass around your phone. Yata pumana swangeshu Chirakpanyadishu kuchit Parakya bhutim kurite Evang bhuteshu matpara. Tapumana twangeshu Ladies, yata, as, uman, a person, na, not, swangeshu, in his own body, shirapani adishu, between the head and the hands and other parts of the body. Kvachit, sometimes, paraktibuddhim, differentiation, kurute, make, evam, thus, bhuteshu, among living entities, matpara, my devotee. Translation and purport by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. A person with average intelligence does not think the head and other parts of the body to be separate. Similarly, my devotee does not differentiate Vishnu, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, from anything or any living entity. Please repeat. A person with average intelligence does not think the head and other parts of the body to be separate. Similarly, my devotee does not differentiate Vishnu, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, from anything or any living entity. Whenever there is disease in any part of the body, the whole body takes care of the ailing part. Similarly, a devotee's oneness is manifested in his compassion for all conditioned souls. Bhagavad Gita 5:18 says, Pandita Samadarshana. Those who are learned see everyone's conditional life equally. Devotees are compassionate to every conditioned soul, and therefore they are known as aparakya buddhi. Because devotees are learned and know that every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, they preach Krishna consciousness to everyone so that everyone may be happy. If a particular part of the body is diseased, the whole attention of the body goes to that part. Similarly, devotees care for any person who is forgetful of Krishna, and therefore in material consciousness. The equal vision of the devotee is that he works to get all living entities back home, back to Godhead. Om Jnana Tamandasya Ganandana Shlakaya Chakshormurtamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankai Tigarim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatanam. So how's our attendance? Seems like we're missing Bhakta Michael. And it's hard to miss Bhakta Michael. Is he cooking? He's cooking. Okay, okay, Bhakta Michael, you're excused. You're cooking. So this sacrifice performed by Daksha, up to this point, we've seen that everyone has come and given their testimony. You know, we had even the personified Vedas come and give their conclusion that by the presence of Vishnu, everything should be successful. And this is a unique visitation that Lord Vishnu has appeared with 8 arms. And then the various personalities were saying, yes, but this form is not different from your 4-arm form. And so Krishna can choose in his various prakash to appear any way he likes. And in this instance, he appeared with 8 arms. And what other features are there that we've seen that Lord Krishna has manifest? What about Shadbhuj? 6-arm form. That is a very unique, not very well known, but this combination is just exactly in the mood that the Vaishnavas worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ramadi Murtishu, Kalani Yamena Tishtan. All these forms are there. And so this, but this is not our concern as much as it is for Daksha. Everybody's lamenting all these poor animals were killed. It's a good thing Peter was not there at the time. They would have had some conniptions. And they were saying, oh, but, you know, and even then they were lamenting that an animal had to be killed just to give Daksha a head because he was lacking his head. So all these things are just for our informational purposes. You know, we think we know so many aspects of material life. And that when things appear outside of our puny minds, that we have to categorize it as mythology, or as Prabhupada would say, mythology. Because everyone, to him, it's his own perspective. So in that sense, Prabhupada gave it a unique twist, mythology. Right? So this way, it's just, you know, we know in school, and at least in America, everyone had to study in English literature mythology. And what do? They try to minimize, of course, that this is just some stories, that they have no real fact and that they're allegorical to present some particular moral or whatever, fairy tale, sit around the campfire and everybody can speak about it. But once one has read the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, because Bhagavad Gita gives us a hint. We first of all have to understand that we're not these bodies. Just that conception alone makes us eligible to asangsayam samaga, to be free from doubt when reading the Bhagavatam. One cannot read the Bhagavatam and continue to have doubt. Otherwise, it's an exercise in futility, because you'll not get the benefit. Those like devotees who have not realized what is the archa vigraha, then their ritualistic performance of certain functions has minimal benefit. They get benefit. Satatam kirtyantam mam yatantas chadridavrataha namasyantas tamam bhaktir nitya uttava. They're getting benefit. They're bowing down. Just like any guest who comes into the temple, they bow down, they're getting benefit. Why? Because the temple is not an ordinary situation. The atmosphere is completely different. Someone who walks into a warm room, he immediately recognizes, oh, this environment is warm. Or if he walks into a cool room, he says, oh, this is a cool room. But someone who has some transcendental appreciation, when he walks into a temple, he says, oh, this is Vaikuntha. This is a special place. But you have to have some some perception and some perspective. And so this comes by practice. There's a dosha, data, sadhu, sangha, bhajanaka. First is the faith. One has to have a little faith. That let me just try to follow, and let me judge the results by my own experience. And that's there in 9th chapter. Dr. Ryan knows that well. 9:2. What's that verse? Raja Vijay Raja Goyam Pravichamidamuttamam Pratyaksha Bhagavamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartamam. Pratyaksham. Practically realized. It is no longer not required to have any doubts. One can doubt the next stage if he's ready for it. How can I achieve this higher level? Right? In the early days, many people used to try to cajole Srila Prabhupada that I want my Siddha Pranali mantra. I want to understand, what is my Siddha Deha? These things are not for neophytes. But because they were associating with people in places like Vrindavan or Radhakund, they were hearing these things. And such devious personalities were using it to try to imply that, well, Srila Prabhupada is not giving you the highest. He's withholding from you. They're very insidious, actually demoniac. Because they have no idea who Srila Prabhupada is and what his mission was. The Chaitanya Bhagavat clearly says Srila Prabhupada is the saint of Patibhakti. No one else was able to do what he did, to cross the ocean and make this transfer of transcendental knowledge possible. Many people tried, but only one succeeded. So all of these things have to be understood in order to get the full benefit. It's like in Vrindavan in 1976, when Prabhupada came back, after a year had passed, we just celebrated the 50th anniversary. So in April, in Ram Navami, 1975, the temple opened. A year later, Srila Prabhupada returns. And the temple is not exactly what he expected. Because there's only a few devotees. In those days, not a lot of ethnic Indians were joining Krishna consciousness. So mostly they were Westerners whose visas were constantly being revoked. Because what was that? When I was there also, the same thing was going on. The local FRO thought that we were all CIA agents. So they didn't want CIA agents in Vrindavan to get a foothold. They thought it was an elaborate ruse that somehow or other these devotees were coming and pretending to be devotees. They were pretending. Of course, Srila Prabhupada didn't hold back, even though there was only a handful of devotees to take care of this big temple. Vrindavan is not a small temple. 3 sets of deities, and what should be a very high standard. It was, but at the same time, there were gaps circumstantially. There was not a lot of funds. And so when Prabhupada returned, he saw things in disrepair. He saw things dirty. He saw they were offering old flowers to the deities. And he dedicated an entire lecture. It's called, if one wants to search it out, I posted some of it today, just so you could have some idea of Prabhupada's mood. Because he was thinking, after I leave, you will think that the spiritual master has given me a headache. Such a big temple, I have to do so many things. I have to take care of the deities every day, dress, bathe, make flower garlands, cook 6 offerings. And so many things. He said that the Spirit, and he even projected what the devotees were thinking, that you're thinking that this rascal spiritual master has given me a burden. So indirectly, directly, if one is not taking care of the temple, then he is, you can say, part of the problem, not part of the solution. The temple is everyone's responsibility. It's not just that the temple commander or the person assigned to the, no. There's a saying now after 9/11, what is that? If you see something, say something. And better if you see something, do something. Doesn't require a mandate. You don't need a certificate in order to pick up some trash that's lying on the floor for 2 days. The symptom of one who is advanced in spiritual life, he sees everything to Dhyanam in relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is non-different. That word to Dhyanam means non-different. The paraphernalia of the Lord. Everything. Name what? Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Nama Shuddha Purna Mukta Binadvam Nama Namin. Everything in relationship to Krishna is on the absolute platform. But how do you achieve that realization? By acting in that consciousness. There is no gap. It is not that, well, I have my schedule. I can only serve between these 2 time periods. No. That is the faulty mentality. And of course, yeya tamam prapadyante tam satava bhajamyam. As you surrender unto me, I'll reward you accordingly. So yes. Prabhupada had that famous saying, again in Vrindavan. One gets an opportunity, he should go through all of Srila Prabhupada's lectures from start to finish. There's 1,400 hours, no, 2,200 hours, 1,400 lectures that we know. That's more being found and remastered every day. And then when you finish, you start again, just like Prabhupada's books. If you want to really understand what is the future of this movement, you have to know what is the history. Just like if you go into any, it's not so prominent in America because there's no titles, there's no nobility. But in Europe, there's something called heraldry. Every family has a unique history, and it's emblazoned in some form, either on a shield or on a tapestry. And it tells the history of that particular family. That's called heraldry. So we also have our heraldry. We have our evam parampara praptim imam rajasya. Everything is coming down. There's no guesswork. When we built Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi, we have these little niches on the upper level you can see. And inside are all the acharyas in our line, beginning with Lord Brahma, all the way down. So when you do circumambulation on that level, you can gradually, step by step, see all the various our parampara. So this is, of course, for our edification. Not that we're thinking all of a sudden, Srila Prabhupada came in 1965, translated this book and everything. No. Long history. And Prabhupada was taking them to Commonwealth Pier because he wanted them to understand. And what was that, the final thing? That even after he's gone, things will continue because he has a few boys. Now he has a few thousand boys and girls. And so this movement is going on by the strength of what he gave us. And it cannot be lost by adulteration, tampering. You know, someone is saying, oh, the books, this or that, some change. No. You have to, the essence will never change. And that's why if you listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, you will never be bewildered that, oh, I can't, I can only read this, I can't read that. No. Everything is there. There is no excuse. Someone says, no, I can no longer partake in this particular aspect because, this and that. This is called, in the material world, whining. Some excuse. I'm a victim. I can no longer participate in the transcendental mission that Prabhupada boldly declared, I am ISKCON. But some people want to erase that because it doesn't suit their purpose. And so we have to be careful. All these things that we're reading about are meant, again, to give us some perspective of what went on thousands of years ago, millennium ago. This is not necessarily Prabhupada told us, this is not chronological. This is not just this, we're not in the Vivasvata Manu period of time. It could be any Manu. The Bhāgavatam is completely on the higher planetary system. So here the Bhāgavatam is 18,000 verses. On the higher planetary system, it's 100,000 verses, and many more. It's not limited. It's like Lord Brahma in this universe only has 4 heads. And when the Lord Brahmas were called, because the Lord Brahma, Krishna is always teaching Lord Brahma some lesson. He's our acharya for this purpose. And that when he went to see Krishna in Dwarka, and the doorman bewildered him. How did he bewilder him? He says, he went in to announce that Lord Brahma had come to visit. So Lord Krishna sent back the message with the chokidar to ask, which Lord Brahma are you? And Lord Brahma was bewildered. And he said, I'm the 4-headed Lord Brahma, the Chaturmukh. I'm the 4-headed Lord Brahma. And so he was ushered into Lord Krishna's darshan. And he asked, why did you inquire about which Lord Brahma? And Lord Krishna, in his unique fashion, he immediately called all the Lord Brahmas from the different universes, none of whom could see the other, because it's all interdimensional. Right? None of them can see the other Lord Brahma. But we're talking millions of personalities coming and paying their obeisances with all their crowns resonating in the halls of Dwarka. But Lord Brahma could see them, the 4-headed. That was the purpose of Lord Krishna's calling them. So he could see all of them, but none of them could see each other, or the 4-headed Brahma. So we want to try to appreciate, how things are constructed in the 5th or 6th dimension. Right? The 5th dimension technically is time. So what's this? So everything beyond the material world is a so-called 6th dimension. It's unknown, unseeable to us, but it exists. And so that's a little bit of why these are being described to us in the Bhāgavatam. The personified abetas are going there, all these demigods are going there, all these different personalities from all over the universe are going there. Because these are unique, these sacrifices. And Daksha, of course, he's special. So interesting, I remember the first time, well, not the first time, but maybe the second time we went to India. So first time was just after Srila Prabhupada left to pay our obeisances, our final farewell. That might have been the first one. We went to Bhubaneswar with Gaur Govinda Maharaj and Bhagavat Guru. Bhubaneswar is a very ancient holy city, very special. Jagannath Puri, these Char Dhams, they're special. They have a unique aspect, just like people are always talking about portals, So there's these Char Dham, all of these are spiritual. They're not material. So technically they're a portal. You enter into that and you're in a different dimension. So we were in Bhubaneswar, which is part of this Puri chakra, like Braj Mandal. So all the dhams have a certain area that they encompass. And in that area, everything is completely different. When you go to Braj Mandal, whatever you do there is 10,000 times the benefit. Why is that? Just a matter of 2 kilometers down the road, it's not that way. Anyway, so these are the hints, what the difference is. So I remember we went to Bhubaneswar, and the ancient city has been abandoned for millennia. Somebody's at the door. Millennia. But you feel this energy there. And we went into one temple that's still open, because you could walk into any of these old abandoned temples, and there's nothing there. There's no deities. But there's one temple that's active in this area. We went inside, and it's in all these old temples, you have to bend down to get in. You can't walk straight up, because you have to humble yourself. You have to know. And if you look at the outside of the buildings, they're totally pornographic. Completely pornographic. And the purpose is that represents the external features of the material world, all based on sex life, material enjoyment. And these were temples of Vishnu, and not just, any temple. Completely pornographic. So many people just walk around the temple on the outside. They never go on the inside. And that's indicative of the material mentality. But there's one temple, so we went into the temple. And you could see at the end, it's completely black except for one fluorescent tube at the far end. And we went very respectfully to the Pujari. We inquired, what is this temple? Why is it the only temple with a deity? 4-arm form. And the Pujari told us, he said, this is the deity of Ananta Vasudeva. This was the deity worshipped by Lord Ramchandra. Lord Ramchandra appeared on this earth planet how many years ago? Anybody know? 2 million years ago. And the material scientists will tell you that human beings have only been around for 30,000 years. They keep adjusting this, of course. First it was 11,000, then now it's 30,000. It'll go back a little bit further. So whatever it is, 2 million years ago, Ananta Vasudeva. What a wonderful deity, and you feel the energy. So just like another portal, you're walking into ancient history. And who knows, would it, what that verse? Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall we ever cease to be. Amen. So who knows, but you're in this lifetime, in this body, in that location, walking into to see the deity worshipped by Lord Ramchandra. So if you ever go to Bhubaneswar, old Bhubaneswar, you must go see the deity of Ananta Vasudeva. To enhance your perspective. So this is one thing that we should carry with us, especially since Prabhupada emphasized that intelligence means to analyze things in their proper perspective. And so everything we do has to be analyzed according to the perspective that we're developing by purification, not by my material qualifications, not that whether or not I graduated graduate school or took my PhD. No, it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with what has been accomplished or achieved through the process of purification. All right. And this is, how does that happen? Krishna can do anything. He's appearing within your heart. He's there. But whether he's revealed is up to you. How do you perceive? Vedanti tat tattvadat tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti. These great yogis are practicing for 60,000 of years to achieve this paramatmeti understanding. But the devotees are accomplishing this in a very short amount of time. Why? Because they're getting the direct benefit of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Archa-Vigraha. This is how Srila Prabhupada was able to grow this movement. So when we see that he was upset because the deity was not being properly taken care of in Vrindavan, this is why. Because your advancement is tied to that. You may not want to think like that. You may not want to believe that. That my service here is proportionate. Yayatama prapadate. Whether or not I can understand this philosophy, whether or not I can become free from doubt. Asham sayam samagrama. Whether I can be free from doubt. Otherwise, how can you go on? Otherwise, doubt will always plague you. Because that's how Maya intrudes. She sees every little weakness. Oh, you have some doubt in this regard? Let me amplify it. She jacks it up into a 1,000-watt amplifier and cranks up the volume so that your mind is filled with nonsense. And you can't get rid of it until you surrender. Just like it, sometimes there's a confluence of dimensions when you sleep. Everybody knows when you sleep, where are you? You're in a subtle plane. It's a different plane. It's not this plane. It's not the waking state. It's different. And on that subtle plane, sometimes there's intrusions from other malevolent living entities. You know, in the material world, we call them ghosts. You know, so ghosts, if a person has a weak mind due to intoxication or whatever, any type of, whatever it is, that subtle connection can become broken. So you're out dreaming someplace, and this other living entity sees that, oh, it's like you leaving the key in the ignition of a car. He's an unattended vehicle. It's just what I was looking for. And boom, that's it. He's in that body and you're stuck outside. But if you're lucky, because you've been practicing Krishna consciousness, you're aware of the situation, you feel this happening. And so what does the devotee do? He immediately tries to come into full consciousness. And we've seen this over and over again. And it's very hard. You have to struggle to chant Krishna's name. Krishna, and all of a sudden, boom. It's like it never happened. You're back in your sleeping bag up on the 4th floor in the ghost room of Henry Street. Prabhupada acknowledged that ghost was there. And anyone who slept there did so at his own risk. And everyone who slept there had the same experience. There was a violent something or other. Could have been a suicide, could have been a murder. It was an old building. And Prabhupada identified the ghost. He said, she. Because Prabhupada could see all these other living entities. He could see everything on a subtle plane. Totally revealed to him. And then he told us how to fix it. He said, and he even gave it a name we had never heard. Bhoot Puja. Worshipping the ghost. But it wasn't Bhoot Puja. It was satisfying. It was giving them an opportunity to leave that place. Because they can't be simultaneously there. So we did kirtan, you blow the conch, you have the incense, walked around the whole building, every floor, throughout a hall, every room, chanting Hare Krishna loudly, kirtan party. And somehow or other, devotees always get buildings like this. We had to do it on 55th Street also. So many ghosts in 55th Street. Because it was a nursing home. So many people died there. And what happens when you're a ghost? You can't leave that place. Why do they call it a haunted house? Why doesn't the ghost just take off? Because he can't. That's why they have to try to get your body. So you can take them someplace else. They're stuck for time immemorial until they can get someone or some benevolent relative will finally free them by making some pinda, some offering to the forefathers. All these things are just ritualistic function, but the reality behind them is part of the understanding of these various aspects of transcendental realization. But the thing we have to be most concerned with is the here and now, my sadhana. How am I relating to Krishna? Prabhupada said, don't try to see Krishna, act in such a way that Krishna sees you. And everything is coming from Prabhupada's mercy. He's giving us a whole structure. We don't have to reinvent the wheel or speculate. The temple is the same exact system was there from 26 2nd Avenue up till today. In 26 2nd Avenue, Prabhupada was everything. The temple president, the vice president, the temple commander, the cook, the cleaner. Prabhupada did everything. But then he gradually decentralized and showed others how to do those tasks. And still, he's training everybody, if they want to be trained, internally. Why? Because his realization is there. It's encapsulated in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. That's why it will go on, if we can hold it. Right? What's that famous saying in American history? When they had the Continental Convention and they were ratifying the Bill of Rights and everything else. Ben Franklin, who was very much, he had to be carried there in a sedan chair, very feeble at the time. And he was coming out, someone was calling to him, what kind of government have you given us? And he replied, a republic if you can keep it. So this is our challenge. Prabhupada has given us everything. Are we up to the task of keeping it? So everyone has to examine his relationship with the founder Acharya and his ISKCON. It's Prabhupada's ISKCON. It's his body. So that is our primary relationship. We're approaching it through our intermediaries, Prabhupada's appointed representatives. When we say appointed, doesn't mean that Prabhupada personally sanctioned. No, they're appointed by accepting the responsibility. It's like Prabhupada's not appointing the temple commander now. Temple commander is coming down by the authorities as they have been given by the framework by Srila Prabhupada. In the same way, some are taking the responsibility of perpetuating this process of initiation. Devam parampara praptim. Very delicate. Has to be carefully maintained. We have no idea what the future holds in one sense. We're not going to sacrifice it for want of that poor fund of knowledge. No, we're going to do everything we can to keep it intact until the next phase comes in. And there will be a next phase, no doubt. There will be. Prabhupada, the self-effulgent, self-manifest, pure, he will manifest on his own. Just like I've told this story before, when I was in Puri, we ended up, same thing, right after Prabhupada left. And very few of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers were favorable to Srila Prabhupada. They used to call him horrible things. Useless grihasta. Who can imagine? Useless grihasta. There's actually a Bengali term. Useless grihasta. That's what they used to call Srila Prabhupada. And when we went, at this time, many of Prabhupada's godbrothers were still alive. Prabhupada had just left, but many were still alive. And it was a whole gathering. We didn't know. It was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day, or disappearance day. It was in maybe January. So that could have been appearance or disappearance. And when we went there, we walked in, and this is 1977, only a few years Devotees weren't traveling into every place. And this is Puri. And they all fixated on us, all eyes, and you can tell. It was like we walked into something we didn't have any understanding of. And it was dead silent. And then one person spoke up in English and said, "Oh, look who's come." And we thought, at this point, we didn't know what to expect. And then he said, "Are you disciples of Bhaktivedanta Swami?" And we said, "Yes." And then this person looked around to all the others and said, "Oh, just see. Just see." He said, "Just see who's useless now." To all these sannyasis in the Gaudiya Math. Just see who's useless now. So that person was Krishnadas Kaviraj. He was not Krishnadas Kaviraj, but Krishnadas Maharaj, who was very favorable to the devotees. At that time, he didn't really have any association. You know, he had been in Vrindavan at that time when Prabhupada was leaving his body. And then the next time you're seeing him is here. And he's taking the opportunity to put them all in the proper place. Because they couldn't do anything. So it's very interesting. So this is for our edification. He was simultaneously giving us a boost that, you know, in the so-called assembly, you know, we're all juniors, but we're in a glorious lineage, the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we had every reason to be proud, but we weren't taking it like that. But then the doors opened because we were in the foyer. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's former residence as the district magistrate, the birthplace of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And so we went in, and they had everything lined up to serve the feast. And then they served the feast. And the Gaudiya Mata Sannyasis served the feast. So we sat down. So they were very nice to us at that point. We felt very comfortable. There was no tension or anything like that. But it was a little bit of a challenge. In the beginning there we thought, oh, we may end up being in some type of a confrontation. You know, we didn't know what was going to happen. So anyway, these things are all there. It's all history. And we're making history. There's one thing you have to remember. It's not that we're in this contemporaneous situation and we should be blinded. We should have the ability to step away or step back and see what this movement actually is. It's not just a place, a building, or our, 3-foot by 6-foot bunk on the 4th floor. This is so much more than that. But you have to try to appreciate it, what it is. This is the headquarters for Lord Chaitanya's mission. It always has been and always will be. From 26 2nd Avenue up till now. So hopefully this realization will take hold of you and you'll take it more seriously every single day. And Prabhupada said, you'll show your love for me by how you cooperate. This is a very seminal point. It's not that you cooperate by, we serve prasadam together or we stand, cooperating in the line for the shower, which is no jumping the lines. Very orderly. So the only thing this has to do with the sacrifice performed by Daksha is that everything is there is all transcendental. Everything is transcendental. This is our legacy. And we want to preserve it, and we want to protect it, and we want to perpetuate it. All these things. So we have our orders. Whether we take them seriously or not, that's a different story. But Prabhupada has given us everything. And it is up to us to take it as much as we like. Again, I started to tell that story about when Prabhupada was speaking in Vrindavan about these people in India who retire to Vrindavan. India is filled with people who retire because it's cheap to live there. And you feel the atmosphere. It's a great thing. But people who are rich and wealthy, they come and they're asking their family members, now I'm going to Vrindavan. Because they know, Vanaprastha, you have to do it. It's not an option. It says, I'm leaving to you all of my wealth, my 2 crores, 2 lakhs, whatever it is. And I only want you to give me 200 rupees. So he's leaving everything to the family and he's coming to Vrindavan for 200 rupees. What's he going to do with that 200 rupees? He's going to eat. He's not going to go to the temples and put it in the hundi or present flower garlands. No, it's just a selfish act, thinking that, no, I want salvation, I want liberation. So what did Prabhupada say? Well, Krishna, in this third voice, what do they call that? Anyway, so said that he's giving voice to Krishna. He says, oh, if you're for me 200 rupees, then I'm for you 200 rupees. Yaya tamam prapadyante tam satava pachamyaham. So Krishna's not seeing what you're giving, he's seeing what you're holding back. So don't be this cheap person who's reserving something. I don't want to give everything to, to this endeavor. I want to keep some for myself. In the future, I'm going to be a big sannyasi, a big guru, a big whatever, big name for myself. No. That is your, how can you say, death sentence in Krishna service. Prabhupada said a couple of things will destroy this movement. And one he mentioned on multiple occasions is ambition, personal ambition. It will kill your spiritual life, and if it spreads, it kills the entire society. Everybody wants to be the big man, or the well-known man, or the whatever, the famous speaker, and whatever. This is not. Personal ambition. So one should be very careful and examine his motive. That, how am I to please the Supreme Lord? Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavita, vaja, gadisha, kame. Why did Lord Chaitanya pick that? Why did he, for all time and for all devotees? Because unless one, and prior to that, Trinadapi, Srinechana, but the two are intricately connected. And so we have to be careful. I'm not here for anything other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to please my spiritual master. So take the time, examine your motivation, where you are now, where you want to be in 5 years. How can I make myself nimitta matram bhavasabhyasachin, an instrument in the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Simply an instrument. Very, not something, an instrument doesn't have any independent activities. It's simply used by the expert carpenter, mechanic, whatever, artist. So that's how we should aspire. My dear Lord, from this day forward, I am fully surrendered unto you. Please engage me in your service. That prayer should be vocalized and articulated every single day that you come in front of the deities. From this day forward, I am fully surrendered to you. So this is not rocket science. Just imagine, we're thinking that, oh, well, Krishna, maybe he's not hearing me. Maybe he's not listening to me. He's seated in the heart of every living entity. He knows everything. That's the definition, omniscient, omnipresent. So how can he not? So he knows everything. So sometimes we think this is a little bit like the Santa Claus. He knows when you've been naughty. He knows when you've been nice. So for goodness sake. So we have this, it should always be in our minds. This is what keeps us honest. This is the whole key. This Samodamo Tapaso Cham, and Prabhupada always put Satyam Samodamo Tapaso Cham when he would quote this verse, for whatever reason. But he's Prabhupada. Satyam Samodama Tapaso Cham Shanti Arjavam. So Arjavam, I've heard Prabhupada define Arjavam as honesty. Honesty. So a Brahmin is all these things. Samodamo Tapaso Cham Shanti Arjavam Evacha. But honesty is a very unique quality. You have to be honest with yourself, with others, and of course, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Completely transparent. And then one can say that he's rising up to that level of Vasudeva Sarvamati Samahatma Sudha, that clear platform of goodness. So, Sunday's a big day. Want to make sure that we can segue into all of our activities, beginning with honoring prasadam, and then Tanmandira Marjanado, cleaning the temple and get everything ready. So if any short questions, doesn't mean your question, but a question that I can answer in a short way. Please, Janmashtami. Little loud. I mean, you don't need the mic. Only people who need the mic are those online. So they'll hear you if it's like this.
Yeah, maybe Bhajan Rahasya, but it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's point about Pratishta, wanting to be recognized. That's the personal ambition. And he says it's the root cause of all the other anarthas.
Wow.
So that's why, it causes destruction within the movement. We saw that with the Gaudiya mass. All the mass, they got their leaders and they're all to be the big man.
Puja Pratishta. You have to be very careful. Like a fire, starts off, sometimes you don't see the embers are smoldering. And then before you know it, it's a blazing fire. And then it's difficult to put out. So you have to nip it in the bud. Thank you for that enlightening fact. Any other short and sweet comments or questions? Dr. Phil.
Hare Krishna. Personal ambition versus, I'm assuming there's a good type of ambition, because you see the acharya.
The mic down, but voice loud.
Personal ambition is dangerous and destroys everything, but I'm assuming there's a good ambition too, seeing how ambitious the acharyas were. So how to cultivate the proper ambition that won't destroy you, but will rather push you to do bigger and better things for the spiritual master.
Well, it's a definition issue. It's not ambition. Wanting to please Krishna, just like you wouldn't call it ambition if I'm trying to please my wife or my other family members. That's on the platform of love. At least it should be. So when one gets to the platform of love, ambition is no longer in question. But until we're at that level, then it kind of sneaks in there, because everyone is looking for recognition. And this pratishta, this ambition and recognition are very closely tied together. And so we should be devoid of that. That's why the Trinadapi verse is there, to give us that context. Lower than the straw on the street, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. And then it's defined, nadanam, najanam, nasundaram. Not wealth, not women, not followers. Okay? Just birth after birth. Let me serve the Supreme Lord. That cuts the ambition down, because who wants to, if I say birth after birth, I'm going to be in this particular position, everybody says, what do you mean? If I say that you're in the mailroom as a clerk and you're never going to advance from that point, people are going to think, well, why should I stay here? I want to go to the C-suite. I want to get that corner office with the view of, no personal ambition. Yes, Dr. Phil.
So actually something interesting I've seen with particularly...
Loud, but not with the mic.
So I've seen with abusive relationships, on the outside it looks obvious, but to the person doing the abuse, they say, I'm doing this out of love, when it's extremely destructive. So how do we like see the symptoms that we're that person or that we're moving in that way?
That's a good question. Well, if you don't see that same attention in every other aspect, then you can understand that that's a selected situation that to justify a particular activity. It has to be universally applied. It's not that I acted this way with this person, I acted this way with that person. No. One of the things about trying to be a servant is that it's predictable. It's not that there should be any surprises. That if you approach me at this time in the morning, I'm going to be a cranky old man. And then if you approach me after I've had a full stomach and nice prasadam, now I'm peaceful. I'm no longer Jabba the Hutt or somebody else, I'm okay. So we have to, we have to just have everything in perspective. So be very, this Shantim Arjuna, the Brahmin is peaceful. He's equipoised. So you have to see that at this person. If you see that this person says, no, and he's angry or he's anxious or he's frustrated, and then all of a sudden he adopts a different demeanor, you know that there's some imbalance somewhere. You should be the same person. I should see Bhakta Phil every day. I should see that smiling face and that enthusiastic attitude. I'm not going to, it should be the same. That's transcendental. That's steady. Sthayi bhav. That's steady. Because it's not steady on that level, but still, that's the beginning. How do you achieve sthayi bhav at that level? You don't have it at this level. Janmashtami again. The holy name saves us now and forever. So we're very fortunate in one sense. Kalaya dosha nidhi rajan. Someone might want to say, oh, how is it possible? But every Purana, everyone says that this Yuga Dharma, it's at the right time. Everything is in perfect synchronous positioning. Just like someone says, oh, the astrological or astronomical, all these planets are aligned properly. Kali Yuga, that has so little in one sense compared to the fact that the holy name alone is our only star, so to speak. And now all these other things may have some effect. The holy name is completely, how can you say, at the top of everything. It holds the supreme position. There's nothing else. Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtan. So what other movement is there besides this movement? There is none. And so we're very fortunate, again, we have to preserve it. Have to preserve it. Okay, so now we're going to honor prasadam. We're going to get ready to greet 350 guests who've received mantra cards in every subway station in New York City, and every park, and every byway, and every place. And we're going to give them something unique in this lifetime for them to hopefully break that samsara. Get out of that cycle of birth and death. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhya kripasinubhya vachapatitam pāvanebhyo vaishnava. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. we're going to have to maybe put that on our reading list. Is that, who is that Bhanu Maharaj who translated? Sarva Bhavana? Bhanu?